Hello everyone, this is the real Black Otaku. Looking back at all the reviews I've done so far, I noticed that all of my reviews have been positive ones. Or at least positive for the most part. So I figured I should do something a little different and do a not-so-positive review. Today's review is of the vampire romance anime, Karin. Karin is about a girl named Karin Maka, who is a member of a family of vampires. However, she's a little special, because instead of sucking blood from her victims, she instead injects it into them. She's an unvampire, so to speak. Other than that, she's able to live a normal school life until the attractive student Kinta Usui finds out about her secret. The story follows these two as they work together to keep her secret safe and in the process fall in love. This was said to be a romantic comedy anime, but the comedy was lacking and the romance felt very forced. Additionally, the introduction of a villain late in the series gave it a more serious tone that I wasn't too fond of. There have been several shows that have been able to handle the change of tone part of the way through very well. Higurashi Kai, Little Buster Brain, and the latter half of Trigun being three very good examples of this. Karin is not one of them. And to top all that off, it had a happy ending that felt empty and unsatisfying. To quote Ninja Mushi,
starts out, it's like some dark, edgy shit, and then it turns out like, oh, everybody's happy, everything is awesome. Like, no, stop with the Lego Movie song. It's not happy. Somebody's supposed to be like killed or something.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far, but you get the idea. And while it was overall mediocre, I will give credit where credit is due. First off, the pacing was actually pretty good. Next, there were a handful of dramatic moments that were handled very well. And this should come to no surprise since this was a JC Staff production. And if the Toradora and Little Buster have taught me anything, is that JC Staff is at their best with drama. Finally, there's the idea of a vampire's blood affinity, where they are naturally attracted to a certain emotion, for instance, lust, pride, or envy, and when they feed, not only do they suck their blood, but they also temporarily remove said emotion. Despite some redeeming factors, Karin only gets a score of 5.5 for its story. Okay, the story didn't do so well. Did it do the characters any better? Well, let's find out. Let's start with the title character herself, Karin. As I stated in the story segment, Karin is an unvampire whose blood builds up until she eventually bites someone or has an explosive nosebleed that would put Koda from Baka and Tess to shame. Usually the latter. She is also very awkward and easily embarrassed. This character trait getting very old and annoying very quickly. Next is the primary love interest, Kenta. I'm pretty sure all of you have noticed that the mysterious transfer student character has been overdone to death. Homura from Madoka Magica and Shorty from 11 Eyes being a couple of the few good examples of this character done well. Kenta is not one of them. On top of that, I find him to be very bland. Now, I reluctantly bring up my least favorite character in the show, Winter St. Clair. Winter is part of a family of vampire hunters, a job which he's terrible at, but ends up falling in love with Karin, unknowing that she is more or less a vampire herself. Let me get one thing straight, I can't stand him. He's not quite hateable like other characters I've seen throughout the years, but he is annoying as fuck. He's up there with Tadashi from 11 Eyes and Fukuyama from Girls Bravo. And if that's who your competition is, you've got issues. Since this is a fairly large cast, I'll do a quick rundown of the supporting cast. There's Karin's best friend, Maki, who is outgoing and playful. Anju is Karin's emotionless younger sister. Her elder brother Ren is a major womanizer. There are on par with characters like Makoto from School Days and Kuze from F. Then we have Karin's parents. It's Henry, the submissive father, and her mother Carrera, who's the one who wears the pants in the house. Finally, we have actually my favorite character in the show, Karin's grandmother Elda, who actually got a couple of laughs out of me, and actually has a pretty decent backstory. Overall, the character cast is bland and generic, and the dub doesn't help at all. Now, usually I won't mention a show's dub in any of my reviews, but this is one that I will bring it up. Now, it's not Jinion's worst dub. I think most will agree that title goes to Higurashi. But this wasn't done all that well either. The performances were weak, and some of the characters had accents I found to be unnecessary and not well done at all. I could overlook all of this if the characters did have some good development. While the show did take time to give some of the characters development, I thought it was lacking. Characters that get the lowest score I have given anything in any of my reviews, a 4.5. The first thing I want to bring up about the animation, as I said before, is that this was produced by JC's staff, but I feel they could have done a lot better. I would actually like to compare the animation to the animation from the first scene of Shotgun Oshana. They both started airing within a month of each other and released by the same studio, but Shotgun Oshana definitely had the better animation. Of that, there's use of CG that didn't look very good, a similar issue I had with Shotgun Oshana Final. The backgrounds appear to be painted using watercolors, giving it a nice touch, but overall looked very bland and generic. There are some uses of some still frames used for effect, painted in a very similar style to the backgrounds, which looked pretty decent, but just the sheer number of them and how often they're used was just too much for me. Overall, I give Karin a score of 6 for animation. I was able to cut a little slack because of its age, but age can only take it so far. The soundtrack might actually be the best part of this anime, but even that was very meh. The opening was pretty decent, and the ending was a very good match, but I really didn't care for either. The intro songs set the mood pretty well, and a handful of them had touches that it added to the vampiric scene of several of the scenes, but nothing all that interesting or memorable. The soundtrack gets a score of 6.5. Even though Karin had a weak story, bland characters, and forced romance, I actually enjoyed it a fair bit. Granted, quite a bit of that enjoyment was just me going all CinemaSins on its ass, but there are a handful of scenes that actually got a laugh out of me. And though it was overall mediocre, it was actually pretty decent at times. I gave Karin a score of 6 for enjoyment. Overall, Karin gets a final score of 5.7, though I'd recommend against it. Those who enjoy romantic comedy anime might be able to get enjoyment out of this show. For alternate anime recommendations, I point you to Dance in the Vampire Bund. Though much darker than Karin ever would be, and has several issues of its own, it is the closest thing to what I have seen as the vampire romance done right. Now originally, I was going to keep up with this vampire romance theme and have the second recommendation go to Rosarian Vampire. But I'm going to mix things up a little bit and actually recommend another one of JC Staff's anime, Okami-san and Her Seven Companions. Though I wasn't too fond of it either, if you enjoyed Karin, I'm pretty sure you will get some enjoyment out of it as well. Between them, I'm sure you'll find something to your liking. Go ahead and tell me down in the comments some of your thoughts on Karin and some of the points I brought up here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go check my vlogging channel Us3 Chong by clicking right here or in the link in the description. Keep an eye out for my next couple of videos. The first of which being a special discussion. Anyone who's been keeping up with my videos will probably be able to guess what it is. If everything goes as planned, this should be out in the next couple of days. The one after that is actually going to be a review. What is this review? I'll give you a hint. I've referenced it at least once during this video. Good luck trying to find it. It's a review I've been looking forward to doing for a long time, and I'm sure you guys will be able to appreciate it. Until then guys, this is the Real TheOtaku signing out. See ya.